Off the east coast of Canada lies the tiny island of Cape Breton. Here, Gaelic culture and language are preserved, as Time magazine so poetically put it, like ancient genetic matter suspended in amber. Though joined to mainland Nova Scotia by a causeway, Cape Breton is still relatively isolated and over the years has continued to embrace the cultural traditions from Scotland and Ireland. It was here that the Rankins grew up playing Cape Breton fiddle music, step dancing, and singing traditional songs at the dance halls around Inverness County. Eventually, they would take their unique sound to a national stage in Canada and then to audiences worldwide.
The basis of our music is the Celtic influence, and that comes from the fact that we were born and raised in a small community on the western coast of Cape Breton, a place called Mabou. And the majority of settlers there in the 1800s or around that time were of Scottish origin. And so the music that was passed down through generation in that area was influenced very much by the Scottish.
Most of us in the family had this inclination just to want to play music and listen to music, and maybe one of the reasons is that my father and mother were very, they tended to encourage us to play and listen to music.
Music was around so much. If there wasn't music playing on the record player, there was someone in playing a few tunes, or John Morris was playing on his fiddle.
Our record player was always broken anyway.
I think from day one, I know the traditional aspect was a very strong part in our base. We always had traditional music in our home, and there was always that kind of music in our community.
I remember very clearly as a kid, I'd be down outside in the woods playing with the other kids on the street, and they'd call you up to come into the house to step dance or to sing a couple of songs. And it wasn't really something that I resented. It was something that, it was an event, and it was something we enjoyed doing as kids.
So that was very much a part of our upbringing, being exposed to different musicians coming around to the house, and it was very much a learning thing for us.
People used to know us in our community. People from the States or from Ontario or other parts of the world knew us as the musical Rankins, and they would drop off a Cat Stevens 8-track or an Elton John record, or an African drum beat record, or a folk collection of folk music.
We were learning music off records and the radio, music that wasn't necessarily indigenous to where we were from. That music could range from Olivia Newton-John to Elton John to Led Zeppelin to the Doobie Brothers. It was really all over the place. Some of the tunes that we would sing for dance music were written by Hank Williams.
I think around high school, I kind of wanted to get a honky-tonk band together and play legions and fire halls and things just around Cape Breton, like a 3-piece kind of thing, 3 or 4-piece. And then I played drums for a country and western band in around Cape Breton. And so I kind of, that was then I kind of knew that I wanted to do that. But ironically, I went to England for a year, and then came back to Halifax and went to art school, and learned how to play guitar and sing, like at art school.
The piano was the first thing I played, and I think it was like a year later I got a hold of an old second-hand fiddle. It's fun to try different instruments, and it keeps you versatile, and it keeps the juices flowing. I think it's good to try different things.
As children, we performed at local concerts and various community events as just a group of singers, and John Morris would accompany us on piano. But at that time, we would do the more traditional tunes. Later on, when we got to be in our teens and we started playing for local dances, we were influenced by a lot of different things.
When we play for a local event, like a dance or a concert or a dance or an anniversary or something, we'd have to mix it up because there'd be such a wide variety of people there from the age of 7 to 77. So we'd play square sets on the fiddles and pianos, and then we'd play what we called round dancing, and we could sing a traditional song and then do that for a little while and then start playing some old rock and roll songs.
A major catalyst for the group turning professional in the late 80s was a stage production that showcased their music.
So we put the show on the Mabou jig, and we toured it around Cape Breton and Nova Scotia. And it seemed to be, it was just timing.
I remember coming into their house one day. I think they were rehearsing for a show called the Mabou Jig in 1989. And I showed up with my fiddle, but as I was walking in, they had the window open in the living room. And the girls were singing, I think it was Horomonian. And I had never heard them sing that before. All I was listening to was the harmonies. I thought they had a record going in the living room.
First impression was rich, powerful, haunting, extremely talented musically. Take John Morris, who's a multi-instrumentalist, and I mean, the first impression was actually over a period of a few days, as I saw someone like himself get off the piano and start playing fiddle, and hop on the bass and play bass guitar, and then guitar. And Jimmy himself, he used to play drums with the band, and and the girls are just a powerhouse. Their harmonies are, I think, is what the magic is.
1989 would prove to be a milestone year for the family and their music career.
We had all just graduated from our different universities. Heather and I from Acadia, and Jimmy from art school, and Raylene was articling at the time, and John Morris was the only one who was freelancing in music. And I guess we were all kind of at a crossroads. We were either going to decide to kind of continue doing what we had been studying, or we were going to kind of take music more seriously. And we had a lot of encouragement from people who were local music promoters, and also from the community that we came from, to kind of take it a little bit farther.
We got together in the fall of '89 for a week or two in this old farmhouse in Judic, and we brought up some tea and cookies, and we put together a bunch of songs that we had known for years, and arranged a bunch of new tunes, and then we flew to Toronto and stayed in a one-bedroom apartment and nearly killed each other. And we recorded the first record, and I think it was a week or 10 days.
The first couple of records we did were done like in 2 weeks, something like that. It was just because they were done independently, and there was only so much money there. So the guy we were working with, Chad Erstich, he did what he could do in 2 weeks for the budget, and he did a terrific job. I mean, those albums got us a lot of attention.
In the early 90s, the Rankins were essentially getting their record played on public radio, college radio stations, and the CBC, while crisscrossing the country playing clubs and small concert halls. In 1993, the group signed with EMI Music, and their single, Fare Thee Well Love, a very traditional-sounding song but not without its pop appeal, began to get serious radio airplay everywhere.
Take your heart, love will we never meet again.
Fare Thee Well Love was the breakthrough song for the Rankins and its writer, Jimmy Rankin. Like the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou movie soundtrack, the song was instrumental in attracting a new audience to roots music as it hit the top of the charts in Canada.
So Fare Thee Well was on the radio, and it was like, oh man, it's getting to number 1. It was number 10, and then it went to number 5, and then number 3, and then number 2, and then it was number 1. And it just stayed there for like 3 weeks. And it was like the first Canadian single to do that in like 7 years. So all of a sudden, everybody were getting a lot more recognition than we previously had.
The group has always had an uncanny knack for writing and choosing songs to perform that perfectly straddle the traditional and contemporary music worlds.
We always have our ears open for new old music. It's difficult now because of the resurgence or the interest in traditional music to find tunes that haven't been recorded.
People are asking us constantly, well, what kind of music do you play? And it's really hard to define. It's just so different. I mean, so many different styles. There's jazz, there's rock, pop, country, Celtic. Pretty well every kind of music. I mean, even little traces of classical maybe.
No matter the style of tune, during the recording process, whatever performance you capture at that moment is for posterity. It's in live performance that a song takes on multiple personalities.
For us, it's always been that recording a song is the initial version of the song, and then in concert, it seems to the rhythm, not the rhythm so much, but the maybe the speed or the feel of the song matures and it grows and it changes. So when you hear something on the record and then hear us live in a couple of years' time, you'll notice that, you know, the song has changed to a degree. But I mean, that's good. We do that intentionally because it's important to not be static.
That's one thing about this band is there's definitely a spirit of perfectionism that goes through it, and people are very sensitive to very subtle changes. It's probably about the most sensitive band artistically I've ever worked with, and people's ears are very sensitive to things, whether pitch or tempo, and I guess that's part of the wonder of it.
When the waves roll on over the waters and the ocean cries.
The Rankins have come a long way since they made their first trip west to Toronto to pursue their musical dreams.
I knew that there was something really, really special about the family thing. And even though people don't like to identify us as a family because they think it's geeky, there's something really beautiful about that sound. And we were in this rinky-dink old apartment with, you know, noise going on all around us, but to hear that singing and the playing, and I knew that if we pushed for it, that something good would happen. And here we are.
I had no idea that we'd be here today. I mean, I knew that we could make a living, you know, playing music, and I knew we had the potential to make good music. From day one, it's been a snowball effect. I mean, it's hard work, but we've been very fortunate in that breaks have come pretty good, pretty easy in some respects. I mean, nothing, you pay for everything. You have to work hard, and you have to be dedicated, and you have to have a vision. I don't really think about it that much, but every once in a while I'll sit down and reflect, and it is pretty amazing.